To team preview on your screen, you're seeing Seijin Park from Korea's team. Lead slot, Pachirisu, Gothitelle, Gardevoir, Gyarados, Talonflame, and Garchomp. Pachirisu chants already starting in the crowd. Up against Jeudy Azzarelli off screen, he's running a Tyranitar, a Charizard, Salamence, Garchomp, Lucario, and Mo Rotom. And it's going to be an explosive battle.
Absolutely. We've got a really fascinating matchup here. We see the players getting into it quickly here. I think on Sage inside that Gardevoir, which we didn't see the last time he was on stream, is likely going to be a big deal here. There's 3 Pokemon in Jody's team that are weak to Fairy type attacks. There's not a single Pokemon in his team that resists both Fairy and Psychic type, so should be a good matchup for the Gardevoir. We did see also Seijin using that Mega Gyarados previously. That Mo Rotom Jody's using that we haven't seen all season. Very good against Gyarados. It's the only Rotom that's neither weak to that Earthquake and resistant to that water type attack. So it should help him out a little bit here if he's choosing to use it. Also a good matchup for that Tyranitar and that Garchomp offensively for Jeudy, though he's going to have to be very careful to avoid the support Pokemon in Seijin's team with Pachirisu and Gothitelle.
Right, and just as you mentioned, that Gardevoir on the stage alongside alongside that Garchomp, up against Jody's Tyranitar and Charizard leads. And let's just go one more time. The first turn of the first battle. Let's hear it one more time for Jeudy and Seijin here in the studio. Interesting leads here from Jeudy. Leads both of his potential weather setters here up against that Gardevoir and the Garchomp.
Yeah, this is definitely one matchup that will come down to a weather war. Jody's probably going to have a preference between which one of the two he wants up, but without a competing weather here, he can afford to be a little bit more careful. Or he's a little bit less careful.
Yeah.
What he does need to be careful about is Gothitelle switching it at an inopportune time here, especially with a couple choice Pokemon on his team. He's going to be really careful about what he lets it do.
We do see a Protect coming out from that Charizard immediately, but Moonblast from Gardevoir gets the super effective attack onto Tyranitar, but it is going to fire back with a Stone Edge, getting a whole lot of damage there. Rock Slide from Garchomp is going to be avoided by Charizard thanks to that Protect. Deal a little bit of damage to that Tyranitar, enough to put it into Moonblast KO range. Sandstorm not quite enough to get the KO onto Gardevoir there.
Creates a complicated decision here for Seijin. Gardevoir with 1 tick of sand, going to be able to knock it out now. Do you withdraw the Gardevoir? Because on Jody's end, he's kind of in a difficult situation also. If he wants to leave this Charizard in, he has to Mega Evolve it, most likely, which would negate that sand. So both sides have some things to consider here. Tyranitar has to be careful since it'd be knocked out by another Moonblast with that faster Gardevoir. Both Pokemon showing their choice scarves there. They have to both be careful on this turn, but I wouldn't be surprised to see one of the two of them take a risk. This is going to be a matchup where they both have a lot of very offensive Pokemon, and there's going to be a lot of high-risk maneuvers. Whichever one of them is going to get the most cheap attacks there when opponents not expecting it is probably going to come out with the win here.
And it looks like Jeudy is going to switch out that Tyranitar for Mo Rotom. Double switching, does not like the matchup from either of his Pokemon in favor of that Salamence now. Is going to be able to intimidate the opposing Garchomp, but Gardevoir is not going to be too worried about that. The Moonblast is going to come back out from that Gardevoir onto Mo Rotom this time, dealing some more great damage there, as Dragon Claw from Garchomp is going to be used on that Salamence. The berry is going to help and deal just a very little bit amount of damage there thanks to that Happen Berry. And the stand is going to be able to get the KO on Gardevoir right there at the end. So Jeudy Azzarelli taking the first Pokemon knockout.
Yeah, Seijin choosing to make a sacrifice there. Likely he expected that to happen there, judging by the way he played out that turn. We just see the Citrus Berry activating for Rotom there, healing up there to get Jeudy in a little better board position there with higher health Pokemon in both of his slots. He does get the early lead there, which is a big deal. I think removing that Gardevoir is a big deal. I mentioned previously that there are a lot of Pokemon on his side of the field that are weak to Moonblast. He's brought at least 2 of them, so he really doesn't want to have to deal with that for long periods of time. I think that letting it go so early is dangerous unless Sage got a great plan here for how he wants to deal with the situation without it, because if he was able to get 3 or 4 Moonblasts off, it's very likely Sage would win the game there. So huge start for Jeudy to get rid of it.
Yeah, and we do see the Pachirisu on the field, and the crowd goes crazy as soon as Pachirisu makes it out. Interesting choice to bring in. Pachirisu is a very disruptive Pokemon, of course able to abuse that Follow Me ability to redirect any attacks towards it, and a bevy of other support options as well.
Yeah, the Follow Me here is an interesting option. In this matchup, it's not going to be able to do too much with its Volt Absorb, but it will be a little frustrating against Rotom if it's out against Gyarados later. Well, it won't be able to use that Thunderbolt in fear of just healing the Pachirisu.
And Salamence does not want to stay on the field, scared away from that Pachirisu. Switches out for Tyranitar. That Follow Me is going to come out from the Pachirisu. We will see the Rock Slide from Garchomp. Tyranitar avoids it, but will be able to connect with Rotom to deal some damage there. Very bulky Rotom, as you can see, and Leaf Storm coming out onto Pachirisu. The poor little squirrel only takes about 50% from that and eats its Citrus Berry to heal right back up, while Rotom has lost a lot of special attack and a lot of offensive power from it.
Yeah, it's impressive how bulky that little Pachirisu is. You look at it just out there as a little tiny squirrel thing. You don't really expect it to be very bulky, but it takes almost nothing from that Leaf Storm. You have to exaggerate. You can't exaggerate, rather, how powerful that is. You know, it's the same power as a Draco Meteor and just nothing, you know. Rotom definitely not as powerful, especially as some of the dragons, as far as putting those attacks out. But, you know, the metagame lives in fear of overheat from Rotom's brother, Rotom Heat. It's the same base power.
And we do see Garchomp's going to protect, letting Pachirisu do everything. Oh, the correct prediction there. The Nuzzle from Pachirisu going to be able to get the damage and paralysis onto that Tyranitar. That Scarf Tyranitar is now worthless. Now it's paralyzed. Huge protects coming out from Seijin, blocking both the Ice Punch and the Will-O-Wisp and getting the paralysis on that Scarf Tyranitar.
Yeah, excellent play there. He probably noticed the Cherish Ball previously, knowing that this Tyranitar is from that promotion. Only way you can get Ice Punch, so also knows there's no egg moves on this Tyranitar, so he gets some useful information there, and also makes a fantastic play by slowing it down. Usually gets the knockout on Garchomp with Ice Punch. There's a chance it survives with some defensive investment, but not an issue there. Now Garchomp going to be able to deal with this Tyranitar as it normally would. Rotom not too threatening out in the field now with that reduced special attack from using Leaf Storm, so better position now for Seijin to be in.
And when Pachirisu is going to redirect all targets, I'm pretty sure Jeudy would want to get that off the field right now anyway. As we do see Garchomp's Dragon Claw is going to attack that Rotom, and Will-O-Wisp redirected away from Garchomp onto Pachirisu, now burnt. Will be taking that burn damage every turn in addition to some more turns of sand as Ice Punch comes through from Tyranitar, still dealing almost no damage. And fortunately for Seijin, that Sandstorm is going to subside this turn so that we don't have to worry about any additional chip damage.
Yeah, Pachirisu now has to at least be attacked once more, or it'll survive 2 more turns after that burn damage, but likely going to Follow Me and go down anyway. Garchomp probably needs to try to get a knockout on this turn. Doesn't necessarily need to get both of the enemy Pokemon, since it can get another one on the next turn after the protection from the Follow Me, but Seijin's going to need to start picking up Pokemon here. There's a lot of weakened Pokemon on Jody's side, but he does need to start evening out the Pokemon score. Even with a bunch of weakened Pokemon, playing from 2-4 down is going to be pretty tough. However, you know, Garchomp still has a full health here. We still have a full health Pokemon in the back. So Seijin's definitely setting up to make a comeback here. He's trying to win the late game, not necessarily just on Pokemon score.
And it looks like Seijin's going to protect his Garchomp, sending out Talonflame as Protect comes out from Pachirisu. Going to try and keep that Pachirisu on the field. Leaf Storm into the Protect. Ice Punch into that Talonflame. That's some good damage onto Talonflame. And the freeze! The Ice Punch gets the freeze onto Talonflame. It's stuck in mid-air. Can't do anything. Really unfortunate break there on the switch-in.
Now you wonder how it stays floating like that, but a really, really big freeze there. And that was sort of the issue of that Pokemon lead that Jeudy started to accumulate there, is that, you know, one wrong thing happening and there's just not enough ground to make it up. I think if Seijin had gotten a position where he just had, you know, mostly full health Talonflame and mostly full health Garchomp out, it would have been a good situation there. But Pachirisu now only has a turn left unless it's able to absorb a Thunderbolt with that Volt Absorb. And Talonflame is...
the thaw as Overheat comes out from Talonflame. Seijin is not playing around. Overheat gets the KO onto the Rotom, Mo problems. It faints and goes back to Jody's trainer. Tyranitar is still out though. You see the Life Orb from Talonflame as Super Fang from Pachirisu, not dealing quite that much, but the paralysis. Tyranitar fully paralyzed. Seijin was not happy about that turn of freeze, and Pachirisu finally faints thanks to the burn.
Yeah, Pachirisu certainly did his job, though. It's gotten Seijin to a very manageable position now. Even though he's facing a decent Pokemon deficit here, he does have a bunch of damage on most of Jody's Pokemon, so it's not impossible he can come back from this one. However, he does still have that Salamence in the back. That Intimidate will be a big problem for both of these Pokemon, but you know, the combination of Brave Bird and Rock Slide is still going to do a lot of damage to Charizard here if Seijin chooses to go that route. Even though Jeudy looks like he has the lead there, I don't know if he really likes this position. He's going to have to cut this very, very close to come out with the win.
Of course, you have to be careful with that Talonflame too, because it deals just as much damage to itself as it does to you. We do see Salamence switching in right now, going to get that Intimidate off onto both the Garchomp and the Talonflame. Going to be huge coming up as both of those physical attackers are going to want to abuse their physical moves. Charizard going to go ahead and Mega Evolve into Mega Charizard Y, going to summon the Drought, going to bring the Sun and strengthen the attack of all the fire moves on the side. Of course, Talonflame probably not going to want to be using that anymore, but Brave Bird will come out from Talonflame using that ability to make it priority. It's going to deal a lot of damage to Charizard, a little bit over half. Gets the recoil damage and the life orb damage, and the Rock Slide is going to connect with both Charizard and the Salamence. Is it going to be enough? Gets the KO on Charizard. Salamence still around, but Charizard going down for free. Pretty big deal.
Yeah, I think Seiji should be able to take this one. And you know that Super Fang in the last turn by Pachirisu there, it seemed like it was so irrelevant, only doing 17 damage there. I don't know if it's actually going to end up being so. With that extra damage there, you're going to feel very safe that even intimidated, Talonflame can finish off this Tyranitar if it needs to. We've already seen that this Salamence has the Hobbenberry, not a Choice Scarf, so Garchomp should be able to finish it off. And we see the forfeit.
Yeah, Jeudy going ahead and forfeiting, and Sajin Park takes game 1 of this best-of-3 set. Let's hear it for Sajin, everybody. Huge win for Sajin. You always want to take that first game in a series. It just